Hello, I'm going to talk to you today about Tpack and the knowledge that teachers need to successfully integrate technology. So, Tpack is technological pedagogical content knowledge. You'll notice the A is missing. The A was added at a later point to simply ease in pronunciation. So, older research, older documentation on Tpack, you might see just simply as TPCK. And this is one of the big buzzwords in education right now, in particular in regards to 21st century skills and technology integration. If you were simply to do a Google image search, you would find a number of images, Venn diagrams, pie charts, pyramid charts, and much more that make it look like TPAC integration, integrating technology into the pedagogical content knowledge, should be seamless. There's also a fair amount of research out there that presents it as the way that we should be going. There, of course, is conversely a number of challenges, and they're documented as well. Now, if you think about the average educator, most people become educators because they love kids and they're passionate about a subject area. They go to school and they take this love of kids, this love of the subject area. They continue, of course, learning the subject area, and they take education courses in which they learn pedagogy, rules, methodology, the alphabet soup of education, expectations, and even a bit about paperwork. When they finish, they head off into the classroom and become super teachers. Well, maybe not quite that easy. They head off into the classroom, they make a lot of mistakes, they learn from their mistakes, they learn from their colleagues, and with time, those who stick with it do become super teachers, those who are willing to give education what it deserves. And as super teachers, they manage to combine their content and their pedagogy, all while managing their classroom, both in terms of behavior, student behavior, and in terms of paperwork, parent communication, and every other aspect you can think of. And these teachers, these educators, make it look effortless. So, technology has been a part of education for a number of years, but in the last decade or so, it's really become a big part of education. In the 90s, the idea was simply give the teachers the technology, they will pick it up, add it to what they're doing, and they will be super teachers. The idea was kind of the idea of leading the horse to water, except for that they forgot that even when you do lead it there, you can't always make it drink. And the reality is that this is not what happened. Teachers were given the technology, they were given the latest and the greatest, and they failed. Things fell apart. They found that they really couldn't balance everything they needed to when they added in the technology. It's not that these teachers were bad teachers. It's that they didn't have the knowledge that they needed. People were a bit confused by this. And when I say people, I mean educational stakeholders, parents, administrators, technology support teams, teachers, researchers, teacher preparation programs. Heck, the teachers themselves were a bit confused. After all, most of them had no trouble putting together content and pedagogy. That they did with ease. A lot of them could tell you great ideas of how they could use technology in their content area. Science teachers could tell you about online dissection tools. Math teachers could point you to calculator functions. Language teachers could point you to the way that they could go with up-to-date culture. And a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them knew the pedagogy and technology aspects, and they could figure out ways of how to combine technology with sound pedagogy. The problem was putting it all together. What was missing? That's what people were a bit confused about. So researchers started to study this, and schools started to try things. And what they found is that their educators needed further education. They needed more knowledge. So what knowledge is needed? Well, everybody has to have knowledge of the barriers, and the barriers are going to differ from school to school, educator to educator, subject to subject. Some barriers were described by Erdmer as first order barriers. These are extrinsic barriers. These are ones that are actually fairly easy to overcome, such as access to technology, knowledge about how technology is used, time, and support. Some barriers were intrinsic barriers, the second order barriers, as Erdmer called them. And these are going to be the beliefs, the viewpoints. Some of these might be held by the individual teacher. Some of these might even be subject or content related. So everybody needed knowledge to the barriers, and everyone had to look at how these barriers could be overcome. And it should come as no surprise that the first order barriers, the extrinsic ones, were the ones that people tackled first. Now, second thing that teachers have to know is methodology. How do I use this in the classroom? You might have an educator who knows how to use a computer, how to use an iPad, how to use a digital device, but they might not know actually how to incorporate it into education. So they have to be familiar with methodology. And with that, they have to also be familiar with how to deal with it when the technology fails. What will they do? How will they change their lessons on the fly? For the more experienced educators, this is actually easier than it is for the newer ones, because the experienced educators have experience teaching without technology. Then we come to design, and in 2006, Tsai and Chai described these as actually third order barriers, and this is designing your lesson plans to integrate technology, because this is something that's really not taught in most curriculum for certification. Teachers need to know how to integrate technology in a way that's going to accentuate their lesson and take it to the next level. It's not enough to simply hand the students an iPad and say, well, now you can type your notes instead of handwriting them. That doesn't add anything to their educational experience. Behavior is a big area that teachers have to be educated in. How should they behave around technology? When the teachers are negative about something, the students will be negative about it. How should they expect students to behave? What will be the classroom, campus, school corporation expectations for behavior? What will be the consequences? Schools need to come up with an AUP, an acceptable use policy. Certain expectations need to be set throughout the school, and they need to be consistent. Students need to know how and when it's acceptable to use technology, what will happen if they use it unacceptably. Teachers may also have to know, in terms of management, how will they redesign their classroom for technology usage? Will they change their seating so that they can see all the screens? Will they have requirements for the position of the technology on the desk? For example, iPads. Can they be used on the student's lap, or must they be flat on the desk? These are all things that have to be taken into consideration. Another thing the teachers have to have knowledge of is why they should be using technology. Especially for a number of our more experienced educators, they might not see the why, the benefit to it. They might have the idea that they've taught this subject for years without technology and it's been successful. Why is it going to enhance their subject matter? Why is it important for the students to have the technology know-how before they go out into the quote-unquote real world? How they're going to use it. Now, there's certain expectations, certain hows that can be done throughout the entire campus. For example, a whole campus can choose to use a learning management system. Their administration might dictate a certain number of lessons taught via the LMS, a certain number of posts per week, per month, per grading period, etc. But then there's also going to be subject area. How is certain subjects going to? A certain subject area might choose to adopt an app or a program that they will use. A good example of that is middle school math adopting Alex, which is additional math support online for the students to do. And then there might be individual teacher decisions to be made. So teachers have to be aware of how. Teachers have to be aware of support, not just knowing that they have support, but who provides what support. They might have a technology team that is localized to their campus. They might share between several campuses. They might have a technology team that's for the entire school corporation. And on that team, jobs might be divided. Certain people might be responsible for teacher professional development, and others might be responsible for maintaining the servers. And so they need to know who to go to for support and what the channels are. What kind of support is considered emergency and can be activated with a phone call? What kind of support is considered routine and must have a work order filled out? And teachers have to be familiar with beliefs, their own beliefs, their colleagues' beliefs, their students' beliefs, their administration's beliefs, in terms of how technology should be used. So teachers have to have the chance to be educated further. And when they have this knowledge, and when the teachers take this knowledge and they have the willingness to try, the willingness to be flexible, the willingness to fail and make mistakes, then they can start to really integrate technology and make it look seamless for the rest of us.